Hello and a warm welcome from Linz, from the Electronica Center. My name is Veronika Liebl and I'm the Managing Director of our Electronica Festival Pre and Exhibitions Division. It is my big pleasure to speak about starts, about collaborative practices, in particular about collaborative practices also to develop regional ecosystems today. As you know, over the past 4 decades, Electronica developed really to a creative ecosystem. Ever since, the main idea here was really this crossing and focus on this crossing also of arts, science, technology and society. The cultural and also the creative industries play an immensely important role in the development of innovative processes. The creative profession is not only a huge driver and also brings into social and environmental aspects in innovation processes, but also they manage to make highly innovative processes accessible for a broad public and also generate really positive spillover effects. Most of the spillover effects have a tremendous potential for regional development and also for building really regional innovative ecosystems. Today I will focus on strategies of such ecosystem building through art thinking mainly, and also how this can grow from regional collaboration between artists and technologists to outstanding international award-winning projects of excellence. And I would like to present exactly also these two sides. On the one side, really start from growing the seeds also from artistic regional practices on local levels, and then harvesting also the fruits from international award-winning projects. I'll provide a bit of context for both, and definitely I will always bring in many projects to manifest also what I'm speaking about. As you see, I'm going to focus really on some practice input, in particular our own collaboration here from the region between Electronica and the Johannes Kepler University. I'm then going forward also to start one of Europe's, I would say, lighthouse projects at the crossing of art, science and technology to really showcase also what innovation potential lies into such interdisciplinary collaborations. And then towards the end, I really want to bridge and explain also what in the 42 years history of Electronica we also see as objective mission and truly also outcomes through such practices. But before jumping right into the topic, I actually want to go one step back and also explain why we are doing this. One of the key missions of Electronica is really to bring artists, scientists, technologists, activists, so people from all disciplines together. And mostly this is also to think solutions which address the grand societal challenges in a quite holistic way, considering, of course, also the social, the ecological, the political, and of course also the economical impacts and effects equally. Something we call art thinking at Electronica really a core research topic of our Electronica Future Lab. Unlike design thinking, the primary target is not to solve problems right away, but rather evaluate the question first. So looking also for various directions, trying to evaluate possibilities and try also to extract those questions which are really relevant and not those questions which are actually questions of the past. Art thinking also encapsulates the notion that artistic approaches and creative thinking can be applied to solve also real social challenges. And this also implies that artists really do have a role in innovation processes, and they should be systematically also integrated into the value chains of sectors necessarily also other than the cultural sector. Exactly, this is also something which is done by the Johannes Kepler University currently, in particular their Linz Institute of Technology. It belongs to the university itself, and they started 2 years ago an internal call for their researchers, for staff, but also for students, for transformation projects, and they hand out quite extensive funding for a multitude of interdisciplinary cooperations with local and regional stakeholders on the one side, but also international artists, designers, companies, and research partners. Their strategy behind was what they also call innovation through universitas, is a new transdisciplinary university culture. They were driven by the transformative potential of various disciplines to also acquire, of course, concrete insights into the future of research and also the future of education. Of course, for them, one of the core objectives of these collaborative projects is really to engage the staff and the students and to look and think a bit beyond the traditional borders of a university and of the academic sector, but also tackle at the same time really objectives and topics like the digital transformation, demographic changes, and the climate crisis by really systematically crossing the disciplines. And I actually brought some of the outcomes and some really fantastic examples with me. For example, the installation, the AI Truth Machine from the LIT Law Lab deals with the chances and the challenges of finding truth through a machine. Visitors found themselves during the last festival edition in a fictitious courtroom to determine who is better suited as a judge, artificial intelligence, or a judge. Before being questioned by the AI Truth Machine, the visitors were actually asked to lie about a specific given topic. And in contrast to a judge, the machine provided by Converos determines the truth in a completely different way. The software is actually a next generation lie detector developed already back in 2003, and today it is used really widely also for job applications, for patients, for drug users, criminals, and so on and so on. So of course the AI supported truth-finding process differed from the juridical methodology in an extremely precise also analysis of the eye movements. After finishing their questioning, the results were presented and heavily discussed, as you can imagine, within the audience, whether an AI can actually replace a judge. Of course, during these discussions, this opened extremely essential understanding of issues like a transparent citizen, and social scoring was also discussed, and of course also the legal framework conditions such as fundamental rights and also data protection. Also on the topic of artificial intelligence, but actually from a completely different angle, was a presentation, Robots Talking to Me. The LIT Robot Psychology Lab, together also with Austrian designers and artists, presented several installations that made psychological questions of human-machine interaction and relationships tangible. And they asked really important questions such as how should robots communicate to people? How can we how can a collaborative robot at work signal me, for example, as a human being, what it intends to do next? Or under which conditions do I actually trust the really synthetic voice of an artificial intelligence? They presented, for example, the research game Cobot Studio VR about collaboration and also communication between humans and robots at work. With the help of a virtual reality headset, the player were able to explore the virtual production halls of a robot duck manufacturer, and they were actually asked to correctly interpret the communication signals, like in a game, and also understand the intentions as quickly as possible and follow the goals set in the game as effectively as possible. This year, they came back to the festival with 3 different research projects trying to demystify AI.
Über künstliche Intelligenz lesen und hören wir mittlerweile täglich. Der aktuelle Hype rund um KI bringt aber auch so einige Mythen mit sich. Wir vom LIT Robo-Psychology Lab beschäftigen uns damit, wie KI in der Öffentlichkeit dargestellt wird, wie Menschen und Maschinen gemeinsam gute Entscheidungen treffen können und wie sich KI-Systeme uns gegenüber besser erklären können. Dazu haben wir 3 interaktive Installationen und Spiele entwickelt, die unter dem Titel Demystify AI beim Electronica Festival 2021 im Learning Center gezeigt werden. Künstliche Intelligenz ist ja eigentlich was Unsichtbares. Die Installation Faces of AI beschäftigt sich mit der Frage, wie diese unsichtbare KI aber eigentlich im öffentlichen Diskurs, nämlich durch Medienbilder, dargestellt wird und wie typische Medienbilder auf uns als Publikum wirken. Das ist ein Forschungsthema, mit dem wir uns am Robo-Psychology Lab schon seit längerem beschäftigen. Im Vorjahr haben wir dazu eine groß angelegte Analyse von 10.000 online verfügbaren Medienbildern zum Stichwort künstliche Intelligenz durchgeführt und haben eine Auswahl dieser Bilder auch von Studierenden der JKU bewerten lassen, nämlich beispielsweise dahingehend, wie schön oder wie unheimlich typische KI-Medienbilder sind. Die Installation an sich besteht aus 2 Wänden, in die von uns präparierte Screens verbaut sind. Wenn man in den Ausstellungsbereich geht, sieht man auf den Screens zuerst mal gar nichts. Vor der Installation gibt es aber 4 magische Linsen im Raum. Die sind mit Polarisationsfolie beklebt. Und wenn man durch diese magischen Linsen durchschaut, dann tauchen auf den an sich weißen Screens plötzlich wie durch Zauberhand Bilder auf, nämlich beispielsweise jene Medienbilder zum Stichwort KI, die von unseren Studierenden als besonders unheimlich oder auch als besonders realistisch bewertet wurden.
Bei uns können die Besucherinnen ein Spiel spielen, bei der sie die künstliche Intelligenz real erleben und ausprobieren können. Bei diesem Spiel suchen die BesucherInnen Schwammerl und scannen diese mit einem Tablet, wo sie dann sehen, um welchen Pilz es sich handelt und müssen dann entscheiden, halte ich diesen Pilz für essbar oder giftig, nehme ich ihn mit zum Essen oder lasse ich ihn lieber stehen. Und für diese Entscheidung haben sie als Unterstützung die künstliche Intelligenz, die Entscheidungsempfehlungen abgibt. Um das zu realisieren, bauen wir hier im Learning Center einen artifiziellen Wald auf mit natürlichen Elementen. Dazu haben wir uns Künstlerinnen und BühnenbauerInnen aus Berlin geholt, die mit uns zusammen diese Installation realisieren.
Das Projekt Serum 13 ist ein Virtual Reality Game, in dem Besucherinnen und Besucher in einem kooperativen Austausch mit einer künstlichen Intelligenz interagieren. Gemeinsam haben sie die Aufgabe, bestimmte Tasks zu lösen. Während diesen Aufgaben tauchen sie ein in die Fantasiewelt namens Xiranda. Auf spielerische Art und Weise erfährt man, wie die Zusammenarbeit mit einem KI-Sprachassistenzsystem funktioniert. Und außerdem erlernen Besucherinnen und Besucher die Grenzen der künstlichen Intelligenz und bekommen ein Gefühl dafür, wie sehr sie sich auf die KI verlassen können.
Auf Xiranda rettet man Lebewesen und Pflanzen. Dabei erhält man Unterstützung von einer künstlichen Intelligenz namens X21. Diese KI kommuniziert ausschließlich verbal und gibt im Laufe des Spiels immer wieder Tipps, die man wieder annehmen oder ablehnen kann.
Vertraust du mir? Das Serum muss dringend fertig werden. Das Serum muss dringend fertig werden. Soll ich dir helfen? Mein Algorithmus hat mit 89%iger Sicherheit berechnet, wo wir die Genschere ansetzen sollen. Vertraust du mir?
the participatory play and acting innovation is an arts and science cooperation with the Ernst Busch Academy of Dramatic Arts, which actually uses practices from theater and also performance to unveil innovation processes. The project developed from the idea that in most innovation courses at the university, you of course hear a lot about innovation, but you do not experience, in fact, the dynamics behind innovation. Enacting innovation is a participatory staging also of the social fabric surrounding contemporary innovation processes. Together with professional artists, the participants were negotiating the roles and the situations that are frequently encountered in innovation processes and act out also conflicts with each other and the technical infrastructure typically also employed within such contexts. The aim was really to make innovation dynamics experienceable, maybe a bit more tangible for festival audiences, and provoke also thinking about the powers and maybe sometimes the powerlessness when it comes to steer and also interfere with the processes of societal change and societal renewal. We see that we are all, maybe having a bit of a lack of navigating through highly dynamic processes, often processes which really come with digital transformation processes, and really also, to be honest, when we see the last 18 months often live. These are just some examples of starting collaborations on regional levels, which prove really that art and engineering, art and science, art and technologies really are natural partners for thinking our world together, for thinking really our global challenges together. A program which is presenting this already for nearly a decade now is STARTS. STARTS is an initiative from the European Commission to bring out new forms of innovation at the nexus of science, technology and the arts. The STARTS program actually developed also from a demand of an increased number of tech companies that called, in addition to scientific and technological skills, also for creativity and criticality to happen for innovation, to make innovation possible, but also to make innovation really valuable for our society. Such creative and critical practice are, of course, very much rooted also in artistic practices. And that's why art gains prominence since many, many years now worldwide, also as an efficient catalyst for innovation to happen also within companies, within research organizations, and of course also to be of value for new products, new services, and of course new ideas and visions. For us, STARTS is definitely a proof how the power of artistic vision can really help also to advance technological developments, both for large industries as well as small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. Further, artists really help also to approach the technological innovation centered on our needs, on human values, and artists often increase also the technological understanding and literacy and contribute by doing so also to education, in particular in digital fields. Often artists are fantastic partners to bring in stakeholders from every possible field, to think also about citizen-involved processes, to think about co-creating processes, which is of course of huge value if you really want to develop collaborative ideas and visions for the future and for our all shared future. STARTS developed over the last years quite some interesting methodologies on how to involve artists in specific activities. Prizes, for example, to single out excellent projects, and I will come back to this later. Residencies also to incubate interdisciplinary innovation processes. Regional centers to build also local art tech hubs, and we do have already several of them in Europe, facilitating also collaborative practices specifically for strengthening the regions in Europe and also to support then regional companies and research organizations, thematic pilots to develop concrete technological solutions, and academies to foster digital learning. Let's look into the STARTS video and what the initiative is about.
I personally see strong similarities between science and art. Both thrive on imagination and curiosity. Both demand out-of-the-box thinking. Both encourage critical reflection. For all these reasons and more, the Commission embraces the role of artists for a European human-centered approach to innovation. We finance the program STARTS, innovation at the nexus of science, technology, and the arts.
Is about collaboration between arts, technology, science, and delivering good impact for society. I guess the collaboration is really about pushing boundaries of what is possible, giving a new policy direction for technological innovation.
The match between science and technology, we often forget where it comes, and if we just think about the Bauhaus 100 years ago, there was a new method of production, and the artist, the architect and the designer, they revolutionize the way that we conceive our spaces, our objects, and they open huge capacity of production for the industry.
STARTS is really a fantastic opportunity to bring people from very different sectors together. I normally would have never had the chance to actually go to a genetics lab, and I think most people don't get that chance in their lifetime. So it's really a unique opportunity to see a very different world, a different way of working, and by mixing those two fields, to really come up with unique solutions that otherwise would have been impossible to achieve.
So whenever we try to deal with sustainable development and the goals of the United Nations, we are basically facing very difficult problems for which we don't have a clue, typically. We can have ideas, but we don't know whether these ideas are correct or not. So I guess we need to put together, very different people with very different background in order to explore what we call the space of possible solutions. The STARS program is going in the right direction. It's very peculiar with respect to all the other European projects. Right, in this idea of put together different perspectives.
So creativity, curiosity, experimentation, a willingness to challenge the borders of things and to investigate things and why they work and how they work. Those things are consistent across all of the sciences, the technologies, the arts. Questioning and experimenting is inherent in all of those professions. They are a match made in heaven.
Electronica issues annually an award to honor the most outstanding examples at the crossing of arts, science and technology. For many years, we have been implementing this STARTS Prize together with our dear partners Waag in Amsterdam and Posada Center for Fine Arts in Brussels, I think one of the most important European cultural houses. And lately also with the Frankfurt Book Fair and their program Arts Plus, French Tech, who is a company and a French association for the startup promotion, with T6 in Italy and Innova Plus, two innovation companies actually who also bring the methodologies and the projects then to industry and to research partners. Each year we are looking for innovative collaborations between industry and technology on the one side and the arts and creative sector on the other side. And also in a second categories for artistic exploration and artworks where appropriation by the arts has really a strong potential to influence or alter the use, the deployment, and also the perception of technology. The winners usually get 20,000 euros of prize money. It's always 2 categories per year. And we see in the whole scope and fantastic broadness of these START prizes that our thinking has so many ways of catalyzing innovation. And what better project, to be honest, to start with than with a prize winner from Spain, and a prize winner which is, I would say, a role model, if not the role model, for regionally anchored START collaborations. Remix El Barrio is a collective of designers, and they built a whole community in Barcelona to work with digital manufacturing on local and circular ecosystems. The project can be actually seen also as a translation of arts and craft into our contemporary issues, and trying to understand and also reflect the manufacturing, the consumption processes of our today's times. The project is a collaboration between FabLab Barcelona, the Remixers Collective, and the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia. They were guided and mentored also by experts, and they experimented with different receipts for making materials with appropriate flexibility, aesthetics, strengths, and they tested also diverse fabrication techniques from molding to extrusion, laser cutting, CNC milling, and also 3D printing. But the jury was really most impressed actually by the big scope and the wide area of upcycled products made from waste, ranging from dye colors made from avocado stones, for example, bioplastics out of orange peels, soaps from used oil, or paper made from coffee remains. Beyond these specific pilots, Remix has actually also transformed into a full collective that experiences circularity, not only by creating the materials from local food leftovers, but really exploring also the collaboration, the inclusiveness, and the self-management towards really a shared knowledge system with local actors and global outreach. I would say they can explain even better what I said now in a couple of sentences, so let's look into the video.
Mi nombre es Miguel Ortiz, participé en el proceso de co-creación facilitado por el Fab Lab de Barcelona, aquí en el barrio de Poblenou, y formo parte de Remix El Barrio. Remix El Barrio es un colectivo de diseñadores de biomateriales hechos con restos alimenticios. Estamos explorando nuevas técnicas de ecodiseño colaborativo que involucra redes locales, fomentando prácticas circulares de residuo cero. Estamos transformando los restos de comida en nuevos materiales, productos y servicios, haciendo papel y envases a partir de residuos de cáscara de café, creando lámparas, sillas y macetas originales a partir de huesos de aceituna, cáscara de huevo, mate, diseñando una chaqueta hecha con pieles de naranja, creando tintes naturales a partir de huesos de aguacate, jabones a partir de aceite usado, galletas y snacks para vecinos o animales a partir de las mermas de restaurantes. La ecocreación es un eje fundamental del colectivo Remix El Barrio. Hoy ya no pensamos en la idea de un autor, sino en el intercambio de prácticas y divulgación de conocimientos mediante las expertas del Fab Lab. Estamos unidos en torno a los valores de la cooperación local, la solidaridad, las nuevas formas de artesanía y la circularidad, aquí en Barcelona.
What if in the following years food waste will become our new treasure? Inspired by Remix El Barrio. From Fab Lab Barcelona and IAAC Poblenou, Barcelona's neighborhood has shaped a circular ecosystem with restaurants, citizens and new fabrication community places. How does it work? It is simple, the circular system, starting from collecting waste from restaurant, transported via cargo bike, pre-processing waste, designing, crafting and micro-manufacturing of products, redistributing them in local marketplaces, urban gardens, or even directly to restaurants. In 2030, This practice has inspired many other places. Each neighborhood functions as a point of transformation of waste into biomaterials, as a place of meeting and cooperation between designers and artisans building knowledge and products, recipes, knowledge and practices are shared in the other barrios of Barcelona, other cities and places in the world. Become a food waste material maker. Learn by making. Think about proximity and local consumption. Care, craft the future, now.
From regional manufacturing and circular economy to a project which actually addresses also environmental and sustainable topics, but rather from, I would say, a macro level. Oceans in Transformation investigates also the impact of human activity on the world ocean. The global ocean is changing its circularity, its energies, its interaction, and of course ecologies. It is the most dynamic and also, I would say, sensitive component of our living planet. Territorial Agency was commissioned by TBA 21 to use really extensively geospatial and remote sensing data to produce public settings in exhibitions, in conferences, in seminars, in workshops and online programs to guide discussions between multidisciplinary expert groups, scientists, politicians, activists, conservationists, and to really build the capacity also to act on complex environmental issues. The work is an outcome of a 3-year multidisciplinary investigation research project on the state of the ocean in transformation, linking science, arts, politics, by producing also shared images of the ocean, earth science, and remote sensing data sets with data from satellites, AI, GPS, sonar scans, and climate models, really revealing, to be honest, the magnitude of the impact of human activities on the ocean. Ocean in Transformation is really a strong call to collaborate across disciplines to deepen all our knowledge on the oceans and really to act together to safeguard also our all shared future of our living ecosystems. And it is a really fantastic example for what art can actually achieve. Territorial Agency explains in their approach towards art thinking, how they are using also artistic practices and artistic research. And they produced a short journey for this, which we're going to have a look into now.
Territorial Agency is an independent organization that combines contemporary architecture, art, technology, science, spatial analysis, to advocate and act towards integrated territorial transformations. Our focus is in building capacity to act on the complex challenges of the Anthropocene. We work on architecture, the relation between polities and the material spaces of operation. It is a rapidly shifting relation with both collective forms, the body politics, and the structure and spaces we shape, undergoing complex transformations. They have shaped the magnitude of human spaces through incredible acceleration that has now impacted the dynamics of the Earth. Art thinking is for us a way of engaging different groups, individuals, organizations, and institutions to reimagine the distributed agencies they operate in and depend on. We live in a world shaped by a multiplicity of forces acting simultaneously. At Territorial Agency, we devise aesthetic structures to form and give shape to public assemblies, where different ways of conceiving a space are simultaneously presented together. We shape spaces for diplomatic encounters between different ways of knowing, different modes of being, different concepts of the contemporary. We operate public diplomacy as an arrangement where different researchers, institutions, groups and individuals set out simultaneously different visions, where the values need to be renegotiated in order to be held in common.
Oceans in Transformation is a research into the contemporary impact of humans on the ocean. We ask how to become sensitive to the multiple changes that are modifying the global ocean, how to encounter the many modes of thinking it, and how to form new ways to collaborate in order to safeguard the main source of life of the planet. The relations between the atmosphere, the land and the ocean are being radically altered by the intensification of these human activities. The rise of the Anthropocene epoch cuts across pre-existing territories. It reshapes boundaries, reconfigures long-term inhabitation forms and modes of being. Together with scientists and artists, we investigate how these disruptions are modeling different ways of knowing and being with the ocean. Oceans in Transformation addresses the contemporary transformations of the ocean by building complex dynamic images from oceanic scientific datasets. The oceans are still largely unknown, and the difficult and complex event of the scientific knowledge of climate change is bringing more and more efforts to understand their dynamics. Remote sensing, buoys, multi-beam sonar soundings, GPS tracking of animals, multi-year detection of geophysical parameters, complex circulation computational models are now beginning to form a new image of the ocean.
The project is organized through a series of tangent lines that cross the different oceans and encounter along their trajectories a number of transformation processes. They are transformation processes of long-term inhabitation of different human populations of the oceans, and they are the tipping elements of the contemporary Earth system. We intersect along these tangent lines a number of different and adjacent processes, a number of different epistemes, a number of different ways of thinking, a number of a growing insecurity about what is happening to the ocean.
The ocean is a sensorium. It records the transformations of the Earth in its complex dynamics, and it inscribes back its cycles in the evolutions and adaptations of life forms. The global ocean is changing its circulations, energies, interactions, and ecologies. It is the most dynamic and sensitive component of our living planet, yet the most unknown.
Which power artistic vision can actually have to advance technological developments, in particular here in the context of urban environment, is shown in this specific project. They started in 2011 really with an artistic vision of a designer to 3D print a bridge with robots while actually crossing the river. In this time, actually back in 2011, it was not possible at all to print 3D steel on such large scales, but with this also iconic image and really the vision behind, they were able to gather a huge team, a huge interdisciplinary team of many industry players, of course also the municipality, politicians, research and university partners. And over the many years, they developed the technology together, and now actually 3D printed the bridge. During the summer, and maybe you've seen it also in media, it was extensively covered all over media during summer. The bridge was installed and opened in the city center of Amsterdam. STARTS is for me, however, personally also a fantastic initiative to discuss really the question of what objectives innovation needs to meet in the 21st century. We've all been aware of the fact, of course, that economic added value alone is definitely not enough. And innovation also must do justice to societal and ecological sustainability. It is precisely this kind of innovation which is centered in STARTS and in particular also in this project designed by Decay by Design by Andrea Ling. The project is a series of artifacts that exhibit designed decay. They were done for the 2019 Ginkgo Bioworks Creative Residency on how to design a world without waste. Ling created biological artifacts to illustrate and also prove the possibility of a paradigm shift in the production of goods. On the one hand, through really a shared sense of agency between the engineer and the living material, and also addressing by this a bit the issue of overgrowth. And on the other hand, she introduced also biology as really a value creator, using decay to fuel new life. While most of the challenges and also the projects I addressed now in the STARTS initiative are pan-European or global, the solutions require quite often really a focus on specific local problems. Thus, we are currently represented in STARTS Regional Center project with many partners across Europe. It's called Repairing the Present, where we try with all the partners together really to think globally but really act locally by defining also challenges which are really urgent to be addressed in each of the single localities. 12 European STARTS regional centers, including also Linz here with us Electronica. For example, Max in Rome is represented, also Onassis Day in Athens, the Sony Lab in Paris, CCCB in Barcelona, and State in Berlin, among many other partners as well. We are coming together with really the common mission of building these local art tech hubs and trying to also increase local production and sustainability processes. Why I'm mentioning this is also because we are just about to open a huge residency program with 21 residencies for the next year all across Europe. So if you're interested in taking part, just visit our website starts.eu. We will open the call